All right. Good morning, afternoon, evening, everybody. 1:17 in the morning, Monday, October 17th. I have to be awake for work in, I don't even know, like 3 hours about. I need to be at work at 5 o'clock. So I probably have to wake up at 4 at the latest to get ready. So I guess it's more like 2 hours and 40 minutes I gotta wake up. I have not been able to sleep at all tonight. Uh, Last night I ended up having a panic attack that was brought about by a nightmare, which, I mean, it sounds ridiculous. I mean, who has a panic attack because he had a bad dream? But fuck, man, that's just how it works sometimes. Sometimes you wake up at fucking 3 in the morning, your heart rate fucking spikes, your vision gets all blurry, and you start fucking hyperventilating and shit. That shit sucks, man. I don't know what's wrong with me. Most people, and this is how it used to be for me, but most people, you wake up from a nightmare, you realize it was a nightmare, and then you feel a bit of relief after maybe a couple seconds of heightened heart rate. You steel yourself, maybe you walk around a little bit, and you go back to bed, and it's not an issue. But I don't know. For me, I had a nightmare that I was back home with my parents, like when I was in high school. Excuse me. And there was like a home invasion, and like my parents got killed. And I mean, looking back at it, like that, I mean, I had a nightmare that I became Batman. That's my Batman origin story. But fuck, it was like, it was so real feeling in the dream. And I didn't even wake up when they were killed. Like, the intruder left. And, I was so distraught due to the incident that happened that I basically just started fucking freaking out, and I ended up destroying a lot of the house. It's such a weird fucking dream. I don't know why. I don't know what's wrong with me. When I have issues sleeping like that, it stresses me out even like the next night, because I'm thinking, oh man, I'm already behind on sleep. Am I ever gonna be rested again? And that fear fucking stresses me out, and you know, feels like the past like 4 or 5 years have been unusually stressful for most people. I mean, obviously with COVID, of course that's going to be stressful for a lot of people. I don't blame anybody for being stressed out about that. I was certainly stressed out. But with the current climate, both literal climate, as in we're all gonna boil to death in like 40 years, but also the political climate. People are stressed the fuck out, and it's causing all kinds of issues. Not even that I blame the people for being stressed out. I think they have a right to be stressed out, and they have a right to cause trouble, especially when their government fails them or is actively against them in a lot of ways, which, I mean, I can only really speak for my own government, the American government, but I think it's safe to say the American government is certainly against many, many of its own citizens, and obviously against many, many foreigners. You know, you look back at basically all of America's existence, the government has been seriously fucking with somebody pretty much all the time. You know, the immediate victims that spring to mind are, you know, the people in the Middle East, you know, Iraq, Afghanistan. Also, Native Americans, obviously. You know, they used to be all over this continent, and now they're resigned to a bunch of incredibly poor, incredibly poorly maintained reservations. I mean, I'm just scratching the surface here. If I were to talk about every single people group that's been screwed over by the American government, I'd be here all fucking night. But, you know, let's just say our government is one that is outwardly hostile to many people and sort of coldly hostile to many of its own citizens. It's just kind of depressing, you know, to look at the system that we live in and think about how much better it could be. Whatever. I'm just one guy. I ain't gonna change shit. It's hard not to be stressed the fuck out when everyone else around you is also stressed the fuck out. You know, it feels like sometimes I get close to a breaking point. You know, if it feels like if you're so stressed out all the time, 100% of the time, and I don't know, it feels like, you know those older stories, like the H.P. Lovecraft stories, or the I don't know, a lot of the old horror stories where it kind of says people go mad after seeing the eldritch truth or whatever. It kind of feels like if you're stressed out for a long enough amount of time, a lot of people just kind of break and go crazy. I know that's not how mental illness works, but I don't know, I've been stressed out for a really long time, and I definitely feel less put together than I used to be. I mean, I guess that's not true. I've had struggles for a long time, but I definitely feel less confident in my ability to deal with them now than I used to be. Maybe that's a sign that I'm better at analyzing my own situation. That's certainly possible, you know. When I was a teenager, I knew I was all kinds of fucked up, but I also felt like I could just deal with it and be alright. Which probably wasn't true. I probably needed a lot more help than I got. Not to blame anyone else, I kind of actively avoided getting help from the people around me, but now I kind of recognize that that's not really tenable in our world as it is today. You know, if you're not already rich or you don't already have a kind of an upper middle class job, you're gonna need either a partner or a roommate or something in order to pay the bills a lot of the time. Didn't used to be the case, but it's definitely the case now. I wonder if all this unrest will just blow over, or if we're just constantly going to be stuck like this until the country actually falls apart for real and some actual political change happens. It's hard to say right now from this sort of early vantage point, but it feels possible that either of those ends could happen, you know? Obviously not immediately. I think people are going to be mad for a long time because, the economy's fucked. Many of the systems of government are fucked. And it doesn't seem like we're going to be out of them anytime soon. But at the same time, America has historically been pretty good at adapting to the challenges that it faces. With the notable exception of the Civil War. The founding fathers chose to keep slavery legal at the time, which was very clearly a mistake on a lot of levels, both morally and ethically, but also politically and structurally for the country. If they had nixed that shit at the very start, they would have avoided the bloodiest war in our history. So that probably would have been a good thing for a lot of reasons. But in general, America is good at it. Fuck, I cannot speak tonight. America is generally pretty good at adapting to the issues it faces. That's not to say it responds in an appropriate way that is beneficial to everyone. In fact, it usually does not do that, but it will almost always act in a way that is beneficial to itself, to the structural entity that is the American government and the outlying systems that exist within American society. In general, it is pretty good at neutralizing threats. I think that is absolutely true, and who's to say that the government's view of neutralizing threats won't, to some degree, calm some of the unrest that is happening within the country now. Of course, who's to say they're not just going to fuck everything up, and in 40 years there will be a half dozen states where the United States currently stand. That's certainly possible too. It's always kind of interesting to imagine alternate history or imagine what the future might look like politically. I'm a bit of a map nerd. I like maps. I like fantasy maps. I like real maps. I like all kinds of stuff. There's something about political and geographic maps that is just, it's so much fun to read through an interesting map. Good maps, really like great maps, tell a story. And, the adjacent material to that map definitely fleshes out that story, but a great map doesn't even need the additional information. A good map with a useful key associated with it, man, you can just stare at that shit for a while and wonder what the fuck's going on as you slowly kind of piece everything together. It's legitimately a bit of a hobby of mine. And I'll admit it is kind of fun to imagine, if America was to fall apart, split up in a blaze of glory, what kind of successor states would exist within its modern borders. But whatever, I'm talking nerd shit right now. I need to get the fuck back to bed. I hope y'all have a good day, good evening, good night, whatever time it is for you. I'm out of here.